The text which contains this legend is found cut in hieroglyphics upon a stele which is now preserved in Paris. Attention was first called to it by Chabas, who in 1857 gave a translation of it in the Revue Archéologique, page 65 ff. And pointed out the importance of its contents with his characteristic ability. The hieroglyphic text was first published by Ledrain in his work on the monuments of the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, and I gave a transcript of the text, with transliteration and translation, in 1895. The greater part of the text consists of a hymn to Osiris, which was probably composed under the 18th dynasty, when an extraordinary development of the cult of that god took place, and when he was placed by Egyptian theologians at the head of all the gods. Though unseen in the temples, his presence filled all Egypt, and his body formed the very substance of the country. He was the god of all gods and the governor of the two companies of the gods. He formed the soul and body of Ra. He was the beneficent spirit of all spirits. He was himself the celestial food on which the doubles in the other world lived. He was the greatest of the gods in On, Heliopolis, Memphis, Heracleopolis, Hermopolis, Abydos, and the region of the First Cataract, and so. He embodied in his own person the might of Ra Tem, Apis and Ptah, the Horus gods, Thoth and Namu, and his rule over Busiris and Abydos continued to be supreme, as it had been for many, many hundreds of years. He was the source of the Nile, the north wind sprang from him. His seats were the stars of heaven which never set, and the imperishable stars were his ministers. All heaven was his dominion, and the doors of the sky opened before him of their own accord when he appeared. He inherited the earth from his father Keb, and the sovereignty of heaven from his mother Nut. In his person he united endless time in the past and endless time in the future. Like Ra he had fought Seba, or Set, the monster of evil, and had defeated him, and his victory assured to him lasting authority over the gods and the dead. He exercised his creative power in making land and water, trees and herbs, cattle and other four-footed beasts, birds of all kinds, and fish and creeping things. Even the waste spaces of the desert owed allegiance to him as the creator. And he rolled out the sky, and set the light above the darkness. The last paragraph of the text contains an allusion to Isis, the sister and wife of Osiris, and mentions the legend of the birth of Horus, which even under the 18th dynasty was very ancient. Isis, we are told, was the constant protectress of her brother. She drove away the fiends that wanted to attack him, and kept them out of his shrine and tomb, and she guarded him from all accidents. All these things she did by means of spells and incantations, large numbers of which were known to her, and by her power as the witch goddess. Her mouth was trained to perfection, and she made no mistake in pronouncing her spells, and her tongue was skilled and halted not. At length came the unlucky day when Set succeeded in killing Osiris during the war which the good god was waging against him and his fiends. Details of the engagement are wanting, but the pyramid texts state that the body of Osiris was hurled to the ground by Set at a place called Natat, which seems to have been near Abydos. The news of the death of Osiris was brought to Isis, and she at once set out to find his body. All legends agree in saying that she took the form of a bird, and that she flew about unceasingly, going hither and thither, and uttering wailing cries of grief. At length she found the body, and with a piercing cry she alighted on the ground. The pyramid texts say that Nephthys was with her, that Isis came. Nephthys came. The one on the right side, the other on the left side, one in the form of a hat bird, the other in the form of a chert bird, and they found Osiris thrown on the ground in Natat by his brother Set. The late form of the legend goes on to say that Isis fanned the body with her feathers, and produced air, and that at length she caused the inert members of Osiris to move, and drew from him his essence, wherefrom she produced her child Horus.